Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you take the roll?
I will. Tim Hale may join us via phone. I am not sure. Madam Mayor, Stephanie Nowers.
Here.
I'm expecting Dee McKee, Maxwell Sumner,
Here.
Bill Gamble,
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff. Are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And Ron Bernier is running a little late, but he will also be here.
Okay. Is there anything any members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Okay. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the agenda is approved as presented. You'll all stand, please. And John, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. D is here at 6:02.
Let the record show, Madam Clerk, that Assemblyperson McKee has joined us. We have no minutes to approve. Next item is agency reports. Don't see anybody from either of the three cities. I don't see anybody from the school district. I don't see anybody from the state of Alaska. And we have not had a joint assembly and school board candidates, committee, on school issues. Are there any public relations report anybody would like to talk about? Okay. Mr. Brown, do you have a report, sir, for us?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to invite Jeff Smith up. He's our Solid Waste Division Manager, AKA the Central Landfill and Transfer Sites. While he's walking up, I'm going to make two quick announcements. Number one, just to remind the Assembly of the LIO meeting with the state delegation on December 19th at 9:30 in the morning breakfast, starting meeting at 10. The cities will be there, and then I'm expecting the school board to come in right behind us. And so it looks like we're only going to be meeting with the House members from the delegation. The Senate will be having a retreat that day. And we're working on setting up a meeting January 9th with them. We probably will not advertise it as an assembly meeting, but if there are members that want to be included in that discussion, it'll be the same discussion, just with the three senators from our delegation, because they will be unavailable on December 19th. Secondly, I wanted to put out and see if there is interest in scheduling the strategic planning meeting. Typically, we do that in the February-March timeframe. I would propose either February 8th or March 1st. Those are Saturdays. We typically do those at 9 or 10 a.m. and usually adjourn sometime in the early afternoon. And I would propose the same location, Station 65. I think that's a good location. So if anyone has druthers on a date, I would.
Can you repeat those dates?
February 8th or March 1st.
Assemblyperson McKee?
Yeah, February 8th.
Yeah, February 8th or March 1st.
I'd like the 8th.
You
Are we
like-
voting on that? Sort of?
Well, yeah. So the 8th is best for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will be
Assemblyperson-
out of town on February 8th, so the March 1st date actually works better for me.
So you'll be gone on the
I'll be
8th?
out of state, yeah,
Okay,
on the 8th.
Well, I'm okay then.
okay.
Thank you, Dee.
Anybody else? Assemblyperson McKee, can I ask you, if, even though the 8th is the best for you, can you be available on the 1st?
Yeah.
You can, okay, all right. Anybody else have any, you're fine, Assemblyperson hours? Okay. Okay.
And then the other thing is, and we don't need to talk about it tonight, just think about it. If there's specific topics you want staff to prepare for that discussion that day, let me know. I expect we'll probably talk energy, your committee that the assembly setup is working on that, so we'll be bringing something back soon. Maybe even before that, we'll see what the group wants. But if you have other topics you want us to prepare for, just let me know, and we'll get to work on those things so that we're prepared to kind of prime the discussion as opposed to coming in cold. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith, and he's going to give you an update on all things trash.
All righty.
My favorite subject. Thank you, Jeff Smith, Solid Waste Division Manager. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. I thought I'd start out with just telling everybody how much waste we've collected in the past year. It's a big number, and we're a growing landfill, but we collected a total of 96,450 tons during the course of the last year.
Wow.
That's an increase of about 1% from the year before, but that was about an 8% increase the previous year. So it's been growing exponentially. So get my notes together here. I thought before we got into some of the landfill things, it'd be important to talk about landfill fires. I'm sure most of you heard about the landfill fire or perhaps saw the big cloud of smoke in the sky a couple of weeks ago. It actually happened on Veterans Day when most of the staff wasn't around. So that was a little bit in and of itself challenging. But I want to talk about how those happen. I think it's important to note that landfill fires are a real serious problem, particularly, they happen for a lot of variety of reasons. One of the main reasons they happen is because people dispose of material incorrectly. So to give you an idea, people throw out lithium batteries. Just imagine you're at your house and you're doing some construction work in your bathroom or something, and your battery goes dead. So what do? You throw all your stuff in and you throw your battery in with it. Well, that lithium battery ends up in the landfill, and what happens is a compactor goes over it and it explodes and causes a fire. It's another example is when those little propane containers that we use for camping. Oh, yeah. That's another big one that catches on fire. Again, compactor hits it, boom, it explodes and causes a fire. Now, a lot of those fires can be put out very quickly. Our staff was quick to jump on it, get the fire pushed away or put dirt on it and get it taken care of. I will tell you, we probably have 1 to 2, perhaps sometimes 3 fires a month on a regular basis. These big ones we had a couple of weeks ago, those are extremely rare. We don't have those very often. I think we had one a couple of years ago, and we had this one. We believe that this one happened probably more because there was organic material that should not have been in the landfill and the C&D cell put in there. The C&D cell isn't designed for that for a lot of reasons. It isn't there because water gets to it. It'll ultimately get down into the water table, and perhaps it could eventually get into the water system and just make a problem for people's water. So we do everything we can to mitigate those things to not happening. In this case, staff got out there quickly, thanks to Ken and his team. They came out and put that fire out very quickly. We pulled those tires off, and I think what Ken told me is a foam that they used was something in the neighborhood around $6,000 worth of foam. So it took a while to put out. It was a pretty long event. But in the meanwhile, we're dealing with the DEC and air quality and a number of other agencies trying to make sure they all understand what happened and how we're mitigating that. So to help understand that, we'll talk about the landfill entrance and what's going on there. That's one of our big projects coming up. The tipping floor we're building is a great factor in mitigating some of this stuff. But let me walk you through that a little bit. First of all, the new campus will be on 20 acres of land. We've already cleared it. It's leveled. If you haven't seen it, I'd love to give you guys a tour anytime. You're welcome to come out. We're going to be building a new entrance with a tipping floor, an ops building, and a scale house. Those are the 3 buildings we're going to put in along with the roadway, and I'll show you a little bit more about that here in a minute. I wanted to also point out that the cost of this of the campus, about almost 55% of it is being paid for through grants. So it's a really significantly reduced price based on what we're doing. The tipping floor in the scale house will have 2 scales coming in, 2 scales going out. The idea is to give an automated lane and a regular lane. The tipping building, I'll explain that a little bit more detail as we go. The campus will include those items. We're also, I mentioned the new automated lane. We're going to be going out with an RFP very soon so we can get different software that accommodates that. It's out there, it's available. We just have to get it in-house and start building that. We're hopefully going to be doing that sooner than later. So I'll kind of walk you through this. I was trying to get a video to show you, and I found some videos online on YouTube that you can see how tipping floors work, but they really don't do it justice because it's not exactly how our setup is. So I thought the best thing was to kind of walk you through this. And so for those of you that have been to the landfill and been in the area, I kind of want you to think a minute. If you're coming down towards the landfill down 49 State Street, instead of coming in the landfill, you're going to make a right turn, and you're going to go past the Animal Control Center and right by VCRS. And I want to point that out because VCRS is our recycling agency, and this gives us an opportunity for everyone to go and recycle before they come to the landfill. I make a big deal out of that because when you recycle, what happens is that means less material in the landfill, which ultimately saves the landfill. I know people don't like to do it because it's a lot of work. You don't have to be an environmentalist to recycle. The point is you're saving money. You're saving money by building new landfills and closing them. It leaves more space for later. That has a lot of value to it. So the point is you go by that recycling center, you drive up that new road that we just built to the end of the cul-de-sac, and you can see up here that the cul-de-sac right at the end there, it comes down and there's an entrance. So from that cul-de-sac to where the new scale is, right now we can only get 2, maybe 3 cars in the landfill before they are on the street. This is going to allow for almost 75 vehicles to be inside the landfill. So if that road ever gets built out to trunk, I don't think we'll ever have a problem with people ever being on that road. It's going to be solved with this. As I mentioned, we'll have the 2 scales coming in, 2 scales going out, the 1 automated scale. Now, an automated scale will kind of work like a parking garage. Think about going to the airport. You go in, you get a ticket, and you go and you park, and when you leave, you get that ticket and you scan it through and you pay for it. This is basically how that system is going to work. It'll be designed for trash. You come in, you weigh out, and it's a very simple, easy process for people. The next thing you'll do after the scale house is you're going to go to our, hopefully someday, new hazardous waste building. I'm going to be coming back to you next year and asking to build that. There's a lot of reasons to do it. The one we have is too small. It doesn't really suit all of our needs, but we can go into that another time. In the meanwhile, we're going to put up a couple of areas to collect it like a transfer site. So you'll have a little box of some sort to put things into, oil and materials and so forth, and we'll take it and transport it down to our center right now and deal with that. From there, if you kind of look, you go around the lake. I love that lake picture, don't you? It's kind of fun, but we won't have a lake, but I think it looks cool.
Put some fish in it. We'll fish while we wait.
You continue down around past the hazardous waste and you come up, you see those recycling bin areas over there?
Yep.
That's designed for metal, cardboard, other recycling materials we can develop and put more in there as time goes. The whole thing then is because we know people, we get them all the time that don't want to go to the recycling center. So we make a space for them so when they come to the landfill. The downside is they can do it free at the recycling center, but they have to pay us to come into the landfill. And it makes sense because if they come to the landfill, we have to process it, we have to move the material, we have to deal with it, so there's a cost involved. But hopefully we can get them to drop it at VCRS and we won't have to deal with it. That would be the best way to go. Metal's a different story, but that's how it works right now. So then, as you see, you continue up, you go to that tipping floor and there's a tipping office. So the tipping office is basically the operations building. That's where we're going to have the operators that work on the landfill are going to be right there. They'll be able to see what's happening and work with the residents and help people. The tipping floor, I want to help you understand what it's going to look like. Wish I could show you pictures, but I don't have anything really that'll do it justice, as I mentioned. It's a building that's enclosed on 3 sides in the top, and the front is not that dissimilar to our current wall. It has a wall that's about 3 foot high that people will drop the material off of their vehicle over the wall and onto the floor. And that gives us the opportunity to separate that material. Now, our plan is to do C&D and trash in there with the idea that we'll have a much better sorting ability. We'll be able to put things in the right place better. We'll be able to pull out those lithium batteries. We'll be able to take all that material and do the right thing with it. Now, the reason we didn't do a fully enclosed building to drive into, I'll tell you, is simply because of cost. In order to build a building you have to go into, you have to build a fire suppressant system, and you have to build HVAC to take all of the exhaust out of the building. Other than that, the building's wide open and it lets air in and cold, whether you do an enclosed building or not enclosed building. The difference is we probably save somewhere between $2 and $2.5 million by not enclosing it with 4 walls. So it seemed to be a really good structure. People will still drop material. They'll be covered. They'll have a cover over them. It'll go inside. It'll still work the same way, but they'll just park on the outside and throw the things over the wall. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better picture of what that might look like. From there, you'll drive over to, if you continue up that road, you've got those look kind of like dirt piles. That's the compost that we're going to be developing. That's the new acreage. We have a grant for that. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. You've heard about it before. But we have about 3 acres set aside for the compost where we'll collect woody debris. We collect it for free today. We'll continue to collect it for free. And then we're going to turn to compost and give it back to the community. The way we'll give it back is through the sites we collect it from. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. The next area would be the tire drop-off right next to the compost, so just past compost. And then down at the end, there's a little cul-de-sac where you turn around and you come back down towards the lake and you go around the opposite way. So this is all a one-way flow of traffic, which helps mitigate any sort of incidents that we have in the landfill, people driving back and forth and crisscrossing. It's better for staff, it's better for residents, it's just an easy flow. If somebody forgets to drop something off, it's really easy to come right back around that loop and make it again so you can get things dropped off. So it'd be really, really easy for people to get through there. So compost, I was talking a little bit about that. As I mentioned, we've collected part of our $3.5 million grant. More of that funding will be available hopefully soon. We intend to buy our composting equipment. We'll be purchasing that. You'll be seeing some things come across for that, and we're hoping next 12 to 18 months. We'll be able to develop that 3 acres with that money. We're going to begin improvements not only at Central Landfill, but Big Lake, Talkeetna, and just a little bit at Willow. The biggest changes will be at Big Lake and in Talkeetna. We're going to create a whole new operation of how they flow, how the traffic flow is, how they operate, what they collect, and how they collect it. It's going to be a big improvement for the community. It'll be a benefit for people to be able to do more. The compost I mentioned, we want to make it available for the community. The intent is to collect the woody debris that we collected all these sites. All those sites I mentioned, we'll collect it, we'll bring it back to landfill, turn it into compost, and then we'll take it back into compost bins where they can give it back to those local community members where they got it from. I did that twice now. I'll stand back. So again, we diverted last year about 5,000 tons of woody debris from collecting that. I would imagine it'll grow. If people see that's making compost, I'd like to think they'd bring more of it to us. The other big project we have going on, well, you're going to see we have a pretty busy timeline the next couple of years, but we're going to do the leachate evaporation. I've talked to some of you about that before. Just so you understand what leachate is, in case you don't, leachate is basically any water that travels the waste mass. So that becomes leachate. Right now we have 2 lagoons it gets stored into. We take it, we load it on a truck, and we haul it down to Anchorage Wastewater Utility. That works a little bit, but I'll tell you what, the volume's so high that we can't keep enough leachate out of the lagoons. We're having a real problem with the amount of leachate that's being, made, however you want to say that comes through. Right now we have 1 truck, 1 driver, and we've actually had to start paying a contractor to come back and help us to keep the volume down. We just can't keep up with it. For example, our truck went down for 2 weeks about a week and a half ago. We generally have to haul about 15,000 gallons a day. That's 3 loads in order just to stay equal with the amount of leachate that's produced every day. That keeps us even. If we get lost like we did for 2 weeks and can't haul any, we all of a sudden have a problem when we can't catch up. The maximum load, because of the distance, we can only do 3 loads a day. So it's a real problem. In order to mitigate that, you either do something like this evaporation system, or you get more trucks and more drivers and you start hauling that stuff. Right now, Anchorage, to give you an idea, they have 3 trucks that run 24/7, 7 days a week. The volume they have is significantly more than ours, but part of that reason is they didn't cover their cells, so everything's open, so they continue to get water in them. They continue to add water to the cell, which creates the leachate. If you cover them like we have done, you won't have as much leachate. So it's important to manage all your cells. So the project design permit on the leachate evaporation, it was approved finally. They finally developed that. We're going to build it next summer. They start in April. It should be done by no later than the end of October. I wanted to make sure you understand this is somewhat of a waste to energy system because we're going to be using the existing methane developed out of the landfill to operate this evaporation system so that ultimately we don't have to pay for natural gas. It's a huge savings for us that makes this all worthwhile. Right now, we're going to be saving at a minimum 4 cents a gallon of what we dispose of. We're disposing right now of 4 to 5 million gallons a year. That's the minimum savings because, as I mentioned, if we keep going without something like this, we're going to be buying trucks, we're going to be buying equipment, we're going to be buying or adding drivers, and it's going to become more and more costly. As the landfill grows, the volume of leachate grows. It also solves, I don't know how many of you ever heard about PFAS. PFAS is the new problem that everyone talks about. What their ultimate goal is to keep PFAS in the landfill. By evaporating there, all the PFAS stays. And the other problem with hauling to Anchorage is that they have to start dealing with PFAS. They don't like industrial waste because it's harder to deal with. But PFAS is something that if we keep it here, it stays here. Evaporation, the sludge goes back in the landfill, solves a lot of problems and doesn't have to make them worry about it. And then, of course, I'm only going to imagine that their costs are going to go up once they have to build the infrastructure to deal with the PFAS that they get there. So the next thing we have going on, we have a cell 4 expansion coming up. Now, what that means is we have an existing cell. Each of our cells is numbered. We're on cell number 4. We have a little bit of room left in cell 3, which we'll finish filling next summer. And then the plan will be to close that in a couple of years. But we're working on cell 4, and cell 4 is kind of a smaller cell, but there's an area there that makes sense to expand. So we're in the process of doing it. The design's almost done, and we'll hopefully be going out to bid very soon. Now, the reason you do it, it's going to add almost 4 years of life to cell 4. So as you build a cell, it's roughly about $5 to $7 million to build a cell, and anywhere from $4 to $5 million to close a cell. By adding this 4 years of life, we're actually stretching that timeline out, which means that the cost is going to be spread out over a longer period of time, which actually ends up saving us about $300,000 a year during the life of the cell. So it's a pretty significant deal, not just the 4 years, over the next 10 years, because that's the life of the cell. So just to explain that. It's a huge, huge savings to do this for us, a real benefit if we do it right. And that's kind of the plan here. So DEC is reviewing the plans right now. They've come back with some questions, as they always do. We'll be responding to those and get that finalized and hopefully have everything together to go out to bid in maybe February or March at the latest, and then hopefully building by next summer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the services that we provide. I don't know how many of you realize how much we do these services at no charge to the community. There's quite a few things we offer to people. For example, the recycling drop-off. If they go to VCRS, it's free. You know, we help subsidize VCRS, and that's a terrific thing because, again, it benefits the landfill at the end of the day. We also have those coupons. If you remember, last year we put those online so people were able to go out and get them. So as of now, 5,200, just over 5,200 coupons have been issued, and they'll be issued again next year. We'll do it again next year. About 3,200 have been returned, and about a savings of roughly $70,000 to the community so far in using those coupons. So it's been a pretty big benefit for them. We have the household hazardous waste drop-off, where you can drop off up to 40 pounds a day of oil and batteries. Again, we keep it free. The idea is bring those lithium batteries in, bring in those propane containers, bring in the things that they need to be brought in so they're dealt with properly, and then we don't end up having problems with them. We have our reuse store. We have some people that, boy, they come to that store when it opens at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. They're sitting there waiting for the door to open so they can come in and see what they can get. So, but Wednesdays and Saturdays we have it. That we give them things like pesticides and paints and whatever else that we can salvage and give to them. And we've talked in the past about doing, I'll mention the C&D reuse. We're hoping that we can develop that very soon. How that'll exactly work, we still have to work out some details, but the idea is with this tipping floor, with the reuse store, you collect that material, we find a way to give it to one of our partners like BCRS or perhaps one of the other partners in town, Matsu Rebuild, or somehow give it to these people that already do this stuff. Let them have that and get it back out to the community to get reused so it doesn't go in the landfill. It saves us space. And again, it's a benefit for our community. We have the free woody debris drop-off I mentioned and free scrap metal. We're seeing scrap metal increase. I don't have totals for you at this point, but it's increasing dramatically. And then, of course, we have our Adopt a Road program. It's interesting, Adopt a Road. I think it's a great opportunity for people with churches or families or whatever, businesses to get out there and put their name on a road, and then they go out a couple times a year and get that trash picked up in their community and they get recognized for it. But we haven't had a lot of interest in it, which is surprising because I figured people would really like that. But we'll keep it open. We'll keep trying it. We have training programs and tools and everything that somebody needs to do it. So it's a really good way for people to get community engagement and be part of something. So project timeline, there's a lot going on. We've talked a lot in the past about glass collection. I know there's been some people who've been in the community very interested. All up and down, the community people talk about it all the time. Well, we finally, tonight you're going to see a glass pulverizer to approve. Once we get that ordered and in, it should be ready in the next 6 months or so. We'll be able to start collecting glass and using it. How that works is glass gets broken down into sand and small gravel chips. Now, depending on the volume that you have, it can be used for a variety of things. One of the basic things is maybe on your driveway in the winter, it can be used as sand or chips for your driveway or something like that. If there's a larger volume, it can be used for big jobs like building roads. You can add it to your concrete. If there's enough volume, they could use it for that, and it could be sold instead of gravel for something like that. There's a lot of ways to use the material. Those are just some real basic ways to go. I think the best part is once again, the community really wants glass collection. They talk about it all the time. So this is a pretty exciting thing for them. We've got to figure out how to collect it well. We'll start at VCRS and do a little bit at the landfill and see how we can expand it from there. Summer 2025, we're looking at constructing the new campus that I mentioned, expanding our cell 4. We're going to add to our gas system. The idea is if we add gas to the system, the more gas we add, the better the evaporation works. I don't have to get up to a total volume. once I get the total amount of methane that we can operate that thing at full capacity and dispose of about 20,000 gallons of leachate a day. So it's a pretty significant thing. That'll be well ahead of how much we generate. Then in 25, 26, we're looking at operating the new campus with the tipping floor. So hopefully we'll get a big grand opening at that time. We'll figure that out between now and then. We'll begin our composting program. In 2026, we're looking at starting their new C&D reuse program. We'll move that up as time allows. We want to get out there and design a hazardous waste building. I put this in because I want everyone to know, one of the things that we do in the hazardous waste building, we collect motor oil. I don't have a number of how many gallons we collect, but I can tell you that to dispose of it, we spend anywhere from about 90 cents to $1.05, depending on what's in the oil and how it mixes and so forth to get rid of it. If we add an oil collection system at the hazardous waste building, it'll do two things. They can process it so that it cleans it up to where it can be used, and then heat the building instead of paying someone to take it away, and all of a sudden we have a heat source and we get to reuse the material rather than find a way to dispose of it. So, these are the kind of things we try to look for and how to make innovative and creative and make good use of things without becoming too, crazy on what we do, but we want to do it well. The other thing we're going to look to is adding the 12 new gas wells in cell 3. So as I mentioned, cell 3 should close by next summer. We should be done with it. It takes about a year to year and a half before you can cap it. And then somewhere in that timeline, you want to put in these gas wells to collect the methane out. Collect the methane, again, use it for the evaporation. We'll be able to use all that we can collect right now. We hope to build the building in the spring, summer of 27. Again, we'll be upgrading the Talkeetna Big Lake site and then closing cell 2A and 3 and around the summer of 28. And with that, that is my update for tonight. And if you have questions, I'd love to answer them. I mean, I tried to give you a quick run through. I'll mention again, you're welcome to come down anytime to the landfill. I'd love to show you around and let you see some of it. It'll probably be more exciting in the spring when there's more going on, but you can see what's happening right now. So if you'd like to do that, take your time to do it. Yeah.
Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, did I hear right that C&D and household will both be put into the tipping building and then split from there?
Yeah, so for residential customers, the whole new campus will be designed for residential customers only. So everything will go onto the tipping floor in that building and be source separated. The commercial customers will still go directly to the cell.
Okay. Assemblyperson Bowers.
Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, garbage isn't sexy, but it costs a lot of money, and the less we produce, it's just incredible how much garbage we produce. And I grew up in a family that, like my grandma, Depression era, she saved all the soap scraps, right? And then made new soap out of it. And like that has been passed on. So I just whenever I see people throw away stuff that's perfectly useful, it just drives me crazy. But that tonnage that you were talking about, the 96,000 tons at the beginning, does that include all the stuff that came into the landfill, including the scrap metal, et cetera? So only some of that was going into the cells?
Yeah, so yes, that's correct. About 66,000 of it is for the MSW, the trash cell, and about 24,000 is the C&D, and the balance is a mixture of everything else.
Okay. So when we're looking at, because if we're able to divert things out of the landfill, that saves us money. In terms of the growth in the trash that we're disposing of in the solid waste or the C&D pit, like what's our graph look like? Are we making headway and kind of trying to keep that flat, or are we going up by percentage? I mean, we're growing so fast out here. So I'm just wondering, when you said we're growing by 1%, is that all the material that's coming in, including the stuff that's diverted? And if we just look at the non-diverted thing, what's our trend line look like there?
Yeah, so yeah, the 1% overall, the biggest growth is actually in the C&D. That's actually probably closer to about 5 or 6%, but it's a much smaller volume based on the overall. So C&D is what we're seeing the most of. I don't know if that's answering the question exactly, but.
Just kind of overall, are we going to jump in?
Well, I was going to say, I think we can provide that in a follow-up.
Yeah, we can
Take just break out by category and put it in a graph and put it in probably next week or the week after weekly post. Just so we can actually get it in your hands. And that way we can get you actually all the numbers for the different categories. Okay. And I think you're looking for growth over time, right?
Of the non-diverted stuff, because that's the stuff that's costing us money, over time,
Gotcha.
filling those cells up, and then we have to build new cells. And how long is that cell 4? Are you expecting that to last until we have to do a cell 5?
So if we continue the way we're continuing now, not adding the expansion, we're about 8 years out. With adding the expansion, we're closer to 12.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And
So
then,
I can't, by the way, I can't answer that a little bit. I did do a little bit of numbers and I can get a better number later, but with the recycling type material, the things that are diverted, it's actually gone down from this year to the previous year by, I want to say about 1,500 to 2,000 tons. So I was actually surprised by that, but it did drop year over year. So I don't know what's happening,
Wow.
but people are throwing more away instead of recycling it.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I just was curious. It's like, it's such a problem for us, and we're growing so fast, we're going to have more trash
Yeah.
by the nature of it if people aren't doing,
Right, and I
Things to
think
reduce that.
I think we need to continue to educate people because, you know, it's a little bit of a hassle to recycle, and there's no doubt. But the advantage is that if you're saving at the landfill because you don't have to build more cells, the cost doesn't change as rapidly. It stays flatter more often. You don't have to keep spending these millions and millions of dollars to rebuild new cells. We can take longer to fill them up. In fact, we've narrowed the price down for every ton that we save out of the landfill. It saves $106 in airspace. So that's the balance. That's the value.
yeah. It's almost like you need a sign at the front of the landfill that says, the less you put in here, the more you are going to save.
It's you're going to say, that's
Yeah.
right. It's for the benefit of everyone else. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was just curious, two other things. The leachate are those numbers up? Because, I mean, I know our water table's up. We've been getting more rain the past couple of years. Is that what's driving that increase? So we might see a decrease if our weather pattern changes?
Part of it is. Part of it's because of, what was it, last year or the year before, when we had that rain that rained all summer. I don't remember what year it was now, but when we had all that rain, we'd never actually caught up since that rain, to be honest. We've been just trying very hard to keep up with it ever since then. The rain does have an impact. If we, as I mentioned, if we close cells, that means that rain doesn't get into that cell. It goes off and it doesn't soak into that ground, so we'll save that too.
Yeah.
We did just take our sump area where we collect the leachate from, and we filled it with tires and dirt in order to raise that up so that the water, instead of being down in the hole, now rolls off of it. So we're hopefully going to be able to see a little bit of savings with that. But yeah, some of it's rain. A lot of it just comes through the trash mass.
Okay.
As the cell grows, because it's getting more trash and becomes taller, you generate more leachate in it as well. So it's not just rain. It just, because trash as it degrades becomes moist and wet.
Soupy.
Yeah.
And then just lastly, that fire that happened out there, it looked like there were tires on fire. And are we now not putting tires into the C&D pit? Are we trying to, that's what I just wondered.
Yeah, a little bit about that. So there were some tires that were already there on the slope. We didn't remove them. We weren't planning to remove them. We were going to eventually bury them, is what the plan was, because we've already got a stack of tires over there that we don't need to add more to them. On top of which, with the big, large tractor type tires, the shredder can't shred those. It's just too much effort on the shredder, so we bury those anyway. But a lot of those were the bigger tires, but they're now getting pulled down, they're getting buried, they're getting covered so that it shouldn't catch on fire again. Underground, if we get organic material down there, there's nothing you can do about it.
But we're trying to keep the tires out of the C&D
We are trying to keep the tires
as
out.
much as possible, because I know
Yep.
those are, I'm
Yeah, we
sure-
do have use for those. We have a new training for our shredder program next week that we'll be doing, and getting the staff another ride through that to make sure everybody knows how to use it properly, and then we'll be starting the shredding process again.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any question, but there's one thing I didn't mention, with this whole new area we're building, it's something really for the future. I mean, what you have allowed for us to do is to build an area that's going to last for the next 50 to 100 years. Now, I can't guarantee the buildings will last that long, but that area where it's located in the landfill will be useful for the entire life of the landfill, which is scheduled another 120 years. So it's a perfect spot. But yeah.
Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
I just wanted to give you a standing ovation. I taught recycling and waste disposal for years it was my passion as a teacher. Did you think of this yourself? I mean, that's amazing. I mean, seriously, it's so innovative. But one of the things I had a question about, this burning off the methane, do you just like flare it, and
Yeah.
does that do anything to the environment? I mean, isn't there some other way we could do that? I know you're going to heat the buildings or whatever it was with it.
Yeah.
But there are some cities in Europe that are actually heated by incineration of garbage and methane gas and thing like, got any plans for that?
Yeah, right now it's just flared.
Yeah.
And what it'll do later is we'll use the heat to actually evaporate from it. I don't know that it does anything to the environment. It's heat. I suppose someone
Well,
could
it's
say
heat
that
and
it
gas,
does, but
though.
it depends on probably who you talk to.
Yeah.
But no, it'll still continue to be burned, but the burning will be used
Yes.
for the evaporation
That's,
process.
that's really good. When you were talking about something that was taking 20 acres in Crevasse, is that in Crevasse? I know you guys, I know the borough owns that. Ha, I hate that. Is there?
So it's right at the top. So if you've been to the landfill where the C&D cell, it's right at the top of that area.
Yep.
The crevasse trail system is right there, and a little portion of it got moved to the outside of it, but it hasn't impacted the trail system. The goal and the intent, we shouldn't be touching that trail system for another 35 to 40 years. So I won't be at the landfill any longer, and I don't want to have to deal with it. But truthfully, the trail system, people love it. We want to extend its life as long as we can. And you know, again, I'm gonna go back to recycling. People recycle; it'll last even longer. So
There you go. Yeah. And is there a charge for the C&D stuff? I know a guy who went out there years ago and he built the most incredible greenhouse just from the stuff from the landfill. He could have sold it for a lot of money. So is there, and there wasn't a charge then, is there now? And that's okay.
yeah, so there's a per ton rate for the C&D cell. We didn't raise that rate, so it's still at the $136 a ton. So I'd say wait for their coupon if they can and get the coupon discount with whatever they have. That's always an advantage too. But yes, there is a charge for C&D.
Can people, just occurred to me, can people collect coupons? Like say, I don't need one, but my neighbor does, and so I could give him one, and somebody who was trying to build a greenhouse could actually do that?
Yeah, the way the new system is that you get one for your own property, and then it's worked on either on your phone, you can print it if you want, and once you come in, it's used, but it has to match your property. So I suppose there'd be a way for someone to do that. It's not designed to be done that way, but I suppose there'd be a way to do that.
And it wouldn't be dishonest because it'd just be,
Yeah, it's supposed to be one coupon per property,
Yeah.
owner occupied property.
well, my last comment, I am absolutely thrilled about this. I'm going to come see you and go and take a tour of that. But I just think it's the most amazing thing I've heard across this dais thing for a long time. That's just excellent.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I love it. It's a great opportunity to share with what we're doing, and you're welcome to come anytime.
I'll be
I'd
there.
recommend spring, like I said, when we get started, that'll be the time to see everything. So thank
Thanks.
you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, not, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, let the record show that Assemblyperson Benier joined us at 6:08 PM. Already, anything further, sir? Okay. Sorry, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing. I think Travis, our dear friend Travis, who speaks to us on these things, talked about glass recycling. Good job, dude. It's coming up. Good for you. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, report? Okay, Madam Clerk, report?
The clerk's report with the upcoming meeting schedule is in your red folder. It also contains next Tuesday's joint assembly school board meeting. That's at 6 o'clock over the administration building. I will not be there. I'm going to be at the AAMC conference next Monday and Tuesday, so I will be out. And then also 4 members of my staff got our jury duty deferred during the election, but we're all going to be on jury duty during the same time period in January, just so the assembly knows that. That's all I have.
Okay. Ready, the next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments on the citizens and other correspondence? Oh, hearing none, and they are presented. Madam Clerk.
I am 24222 informing the assembly of the time extension only grant amendments for 2 Alaska State Homeland Security grants to be presented to the manager for signature.
Are there any comments on the IM? Hearing none, it is presented. The next item is audience participation. We do have a sign-up sheet, so we'll go to those first. So our audience participation is now open. The first person is Michelle
I think it might be Michael Kaler.
Kaler.
And Mr. Kaler, if I can get you to turn the mic on down there. Thank you.
My name is Michael Kaler. I am here representing the Birch Tree Charter School Parents Guild. We are the PTA for Birch Tree. First, I would like to thank you for everything you have done so far, and I would like to extend to Madam Mayor, staff, and all the assembly members an invitation to our holiday market that is going December 7th. We're going to be doing it from 10 to 4. Right now, we currently have 25 all local craft personnel, and we've got 13 students that have gotten a booth for this. So great place to, come and shop and see what we do at a little more, a little deeper level, to be able to talk with some of us and some of the teachers and some of the students there. And I will say I will be thanking you for what is going on later tonight. Yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. Travis?
Hello, my name is Travis Friesen. I live in Palmer, and I wrote in something that I wanted to talk about. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about the landfill, and I think that's a really cool presentation. And I would like to add in one thing, because I recently saw how biodiesel is made, and I know they're all about disposing chemicals in the proper way, and I think that that eventually in the future we could do biodiesel, by getting oil that was once used in fast food in the restaurants, for frying food, and turn it into fuel. That's like diesel, but it's, although more expensive, it's more environmentally friendly. All right, enough for that. And now I want to talk about what I originally wanted to come and talk about, are sidewalks. On Bogard, there people are talking about how traffic is starting to build up on the Bogard Road. And another thing is that I've also seen some people walk along the road, on the side of the road, which means that they're more likely to get hit. So I would like to see sidewalks built along there. And also, I spoke about this both in, I don't think I spoke it here, but I definitely spoke about it at City Council, about having a sidewalk for the inner and outer Springer loop area. These aren't just side streets in neighborhoods. These are roads that, with a much higher speed limit. And I think putting a sidewalk along those areas would drastically improve pedestrian and biker safety. And I bike around that place a lot, so I think putting a bike path in there, it wouldn't just be used for bikes. It can also be used for, not just for pedestrians, but also be used for off-road vehicles as well. So something to think about. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly on any topic? Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not? Okay. One last chance. Okay. So I'll close audience participation. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 24-108, an ordinance amending MSB 4.280208, Enhanced 911 Advisory Board composition. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay. And see, we have staff coming.
Good evening, Mayor, Assembly, and staff. Ken Barkley, Director of Emergency Services. This ordinance in front of you is for our E911 Board of Supervisors. We're going to be adding 2 seats to that is what we're asking voting members. One of them would be MTA, and the other one is expertise within our own departments through IT. And what that's going to do is when we're looking at new software all the time, and we're wanting stuff that might be the flavor of the month or something, but we don't really have expertise on the board. So we want to make sure what we're getting now is going to be compatible to what the borough has. And this also will help out the city of West Hill and the city of Palmer as well with their advancements in their technology. So that's what this is for, is adding some professionals to the board, voting members that'll help us make sound decisions as we move forward.
Questions to staff? Okay, all right, thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 24-108. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Does anyone like to address the assembly on this ordinance? We do not have anybody online? One last chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt ordinance 24-108.
Okay. Discussion by the assembly. Is there any objection to the ordinance? Okay, seeing and hearing none, there is no objection. The legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 24-110, an ordinance appropriating $248,823 from the area-wide fund balance for bridge and railroad crossing, major maintenance and repair, and dust control program. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, finance director. Before you is an accept and appropriate of motor vehicle taxes that have lapsed into fund balance. Under Borough Code, we annually budget for the amount of motor vehicle taxes that we estimate that is above what is required to be allocated to the RSAs. This year, in 23, fiscal year 23, because our audit was so late, we didn't do this legislation. So we're doing both the fiscal year 23 allocation and the correction of the fiscal year 24 receipts. And moving this extra money, the net amount, into the project that is for repairs and maintenance, major repairs and maintenance of bridges or railroad crossings. It can also be used to match LIDs for road paving or actual road construction.
Questions to staff? Okay, guess not. Thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We do not have a sign-up sheet on ordinance 24-110. Is there anyone that would like to give input to the assembly on this ordinance? No, nobody online. See anybody moving? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. And
I move to adopt ordinance 24-110.
is there discussion? Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 24-111, an ordinance accepting and appropriating a grant in the amount of $137,000 from the Alaska State Department of Natural Resources, Division of Forestry and Fire Protection to operate collection sites and dispose of spruce beetle killed or infested wood and other woody biomass considered hazardous fuels, with accompanying resolution 24-115, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for an Alaska State Department of Natural Resources, Division of Forestry and Fire Protection grant to operate collection sites and dispose of spruce beetle killed or infested wood and other woody biomass considered a hazardous fuels. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, please.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, finance director. This again is an accepted appropriated Department of Natural Resources funding of $137,000. As stated in the title, this is to allow us to operate collection sites to collect and dispose of biohazard, which is, spruce beetle killed wood or other infested woods. And that's what we got.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, question?
So where are these sites, and can you elaborate a little bit on that? Or where's?
If I'm not, through the mayor,
ahead.
if I'm not mistaken, we use this funding to offset the cost for collecting woody debris for free at the transfer sites.
Yeah.
Right? So that's part of why we collect them for free.
And that's at the landfill.
I'm sorry?
At the landfill and at
The
transfer
landfill and
sites?
select transfer sites. So Jeff just talked a little bit about that. It's not every transfer site, some of the remote ones, we, like McLaren and the ones really out there, we don't offer that. But yeah, Willow, Talkeetna, Big Lake, we do.
Thank you.
Okay, Assemblyperson McKee.
So like guys who sell firewood, can they go out and get that from these collection sites? Do you like put all the logs in one place and say y'all come or what? No?
Go ahead, sir.
So this is through the mayor to Ms. McKee. What we're talking about here is where people are bringing in and we're disposing of brush predominantly. We're not talking about the saw crew and wildfire mitigation. I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, and potential like firewood sales and things. That's different than what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
This grant actually allows us to chip whatever's brought in or dispose of it in other ways.
So will that be part of what the gentleman was talking about composting and such at the land? No?
It could be.
Yeah, so there's still details to be worked out on what the composting program ultimately looks like. So I think it was last meeting we just accepted the first portion of that grant. So there's still work to be done there, but I would imagine, yeah, there'll be an organic component with woody debris to that composting program.
Further questions of staff? Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 24-111 and resolution 24-115. We have no sign-up sheet. Is anyone in the audience who would like to testify on either this ordinance or resolution? Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay. One last chance. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt 24-111 and resolution 24-115.
Okay, discussion by the assembly. Any objection to the legislation by the assembly? Seeing and hearing none, the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 24-112, an ordinance accepting and appropriating a grant from the Alaska State Department of Commerce, Community, and Economic Development in the amount of $2 million for the City Water Interconnect Project with accompanying resolution 24-118, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget and authorizing the manager to execute the agreement for the City Water Interconnect Project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Go ahead, staff.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, Finance Director. Okay, this is an accept and appropriate from Department of Commerce and Community and Economic Development of $2 million for the interchange project. This grant will allow us to design and construct the interchange, or at least a portion of it. The total project is estimated to be $8,687,000 and some change. And the whole intent is to provide some resiliency between the two cities for the water supply.
Questions of staff? Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Anyone in the audience that would like to address this ordinance 24-112 or resolution 24-118? Okay, seeing no one. Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. One last chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-112 and resolution 24-118.
Discussion by the assembly. Any objection by the assembly? Hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 24-113, an ordinance accepting and appropriating a Coronavirus Capital Project Fund grant from the Alaska State Department of Commerce, Community, and Economic Development in the amount of $8 million for the Mat-Su First Responder Training Facility Project with accompanying resolution 24-119, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget and authorizing the manager to execute the agreement for the Mat-Su Fire Responder Training Facility Project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Staff, please. Thank
Through the
you.
mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heinel Finance Director. Again, before you is an accept and appropriate of $8 million to fund the construction of the first responders training facility, which is currently known as Station 39.
Okay, questions to staff? Assemblyperson McKee.
Yeah, I got, came by and got this map today to see, and went over to check out that area, and I realized that the ownership is of the borough owns this thing, and, you know, huge, how many acres is that?
Phoning a friend.
Yeah, we're phoning a friend. I've got Ken Barkley from Emergency Services and Cole Branham from Public Works to kind of, I guess, do a little bit of a history lesson.
Okay.
Through the mayor, Assemblyman McKee, it's 5 acres.
Oh, it looks bigger than that. And I know we have ownership of it, and it's basically a done deal, and I would vote for no other reason than because it's gonna bring a lot of money to the borough and jobs. So that's a good thing. I also think that it's a good idea to have this, but I was kind of curious. How do you equate this building with recruiting more people to get into the emergency services? How you can do that?
So through the mayor, Assemblyman McKee, there's 2 parts to that. One of them is we're going to have a training center there. So we can bring in our new medics and we're going to be able to train them there. That facility will be fully functionable for bringing in brand new medics like we just did recently, but they will have a full facility there for training. The other part of it is a lot of what the firefighters and medics, when they join us, they need a house. They need somewhere to call home. And right now, the nearest facility we have is Station 5-1, right across from the hospital, that has sleeping quarters. So right now, we don't have that. We don't have the camaraderie, the kitchen, where we can house them 24/7 or do shift work. So there's going to be a lot of benefits to that facility to provide that, not to mention the location for response times, et cetera.
Was there any objection from the folks that live out in Cedar Hills to that? I mean, do they know this is about to happen, or, I mean, do they?
Through the mayor, Assemblyman McKee, there was no objections. There was questions they had. The only questions that they asked of me and I answered them was the sirens. That's always the biggest questions. And we take care of that with all of our facilities for our vets. You know, that's a problem for vets and our seniors, but who wants to wake up in the middle of the night? But we don't hit our sirens until we're on the highway.
Yeah.
So once they understand, and we have 37 facilities. I've had no complaints in the last 5 years.
Wow. How about traffic? Because it would seem that that would be a concern because it's so close. It's right abuts the subdivision. Is there like 2 ways in and out of that thing?
There are 2 ways. When we get back from a call, we come in one direction, and we're leaving, we're coming out right onto the highway.
So you won't be going actually through the subdivisions with.
We won't be going through the subdivision at all.
That's good. That's really good. Do you have any idea of what, I know it's Davis Bacon, do you have any idea of what the ratio of wages to other costs of this will be?
Good question. I don't have that answer.
Will we be kind of kept up to date as things happen with this? I mean, I think it's a great idea, but will we kind of know?
Through the mayor,
Incrementally?
Assemblyman McKee, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure the manager will keep you abreast as the progress goes. And I can't wait to the one day we have a ribbon cutting.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
So I just, through the mayor, I just want to put on the record quickly that because it's in the city of Palmer's city limits, it went through the Palmer's Planning and Zoning Commission. So we went through the full process to get it zoned correctly and had public hearings and all that. So I just wanted to be clear, that's already happened. All right, that's been going on for months now. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that was understood because we don't get a pass either just because we're a government entity. And so we walk through that process. The intent as far as keeping the assembly abreast, you're going to get another stab at this. This is the accept and appropriate. We will, at some point, once the project goes out to bid, the assembly will be approving the construction contract. And so that'll be the next major milestone before it kicks off. Obviously, our goal is to have it out for construction this coming summer.
Yeah. I did have one other question. Obviously, when it's ours, we own it once it's there, and that means maintaining and insuring and all that sort of thing. I was talking to George earlier in the day, and he was saying something about the cost of maintenance of a project is about. You're shaking your head, yes? I'm just thinking, well. So are we, do we have any idea what the maintenance is going to be for this on an annual basis?
Through the mayor, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. Certainly, this facility will cost more in maintenance than the one that we currently house EMS and telecom in, which is in an old industrial park building down in the Palmer Industrial Park. So part of this build is that we vacate that facility and sell that. And so we want to put that back on the tax rolls, get it back in the hands of the private sector. It's in the middle of the industrial park, not a great place to be dispatching medics from. And so there's a little bit of a trade-off in there too, because we're going to get rid of an older facility and we won't have those utilities and maintenance expenses any longer. But yeah, this is a much larger, more robust facility because part of that, really a couple of things. Firstly, we've got to find a place for our telecom folks. Since we got rid of the Breeden building, we've been kind of shifting those folks around. This services fire, so City of Palmer firefighters will be occupying this building as well, servicing the greater Palmer Fire Service area. They don't really have sleeping quarters presently in this area for firefighters either. And then you have the medics and then the ability to train. The challenge is our workforce for medics has grown to a size that we don't have adequate facility to perform training like at the battalion level. And so that's a pretty important component to sustaining that workforce and, I would argue, supporting retention.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have the facilities to support those folks to recruit and or retain, that's going to be problematic. And we are in a highly competitive environment for medics because we got some neighbors to the south that have those same needs. And so little things like this where we have the adequate facilities, we have a good solid training program, we have living quarters in areas that we're dispatching them from so that they're not sleeping in an old mezzanine of an industrial building on cots, which is what we're doing now, is important. I think long-term in terms of having that workforce, because we can buy as many ambulances and facilities as we want. If we can't staff it, we're nowhere.
So do you know what our pool looks like, the recruitment pool? I mean, are they in-state? Are they in rural? Are they...
Yeah, I don't have numbers on where they're all coming from. We're doing okay. There's a fair amount of turnover. It's the largest segment of workforce that we have. Like if you just pick one category of like one job description, whether it's EMTs, EMT2s or paramedics, that's our largest. Wow. That is our largest segment for the borough. I mean, we have firefighters, but and on-call responders, but not full-time equivalents. And so, yeah, this is important. This facility is important for a number of reasons. And I want to say, I appreciate the state because the governor put this $8 million in the budget a couple of years ago, and they got creative to where they could use some COVID money to help us get across the finish line because $8 million is not the total project cost. It's just the biggest portion of it. So it's going to be really important from an EMS training perspective, but we're also going to realize value for fire, telecom, and rescue.
Square footage of the building?
I got a guy ready for that one too. Should have just teed up a 3-9 update.
Cole Brand, I'm project management division manager. So the square footage of the building is about 33,000 square feet. So the first floor is 23,000 feet, and then the second floor is about 9,000 square feet.
Can you give me an idea? I have that's not working for my mind. What is that compared to? Is that the biggest Fred Meyer's, or I mean, just comparatively?
Tough question. We have a similar sized facility.
Let's give her something. She was a teacher at Palmer Junior Middle. That's probably about 120,000, 100,000 square feet.
Oh.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, Houston High School, when we rebuilt it, was about 94.
Oh, wow.
So it's about a third of that size.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Further questions to staff? Thank all three of you. I'll go ahead now and open the public hearing. We don't have a sign-up sheet, right? Okay. Anyone in the audience is welcome to give the assembly input on ordinance 24-113 or resolution 24-119. Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. One last chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-113 and resolution 24-119.
Okay. Discussion by the assembly. Yes.
I'd just like to say one thing. that's a lot of money, but when you're the one who needs the service, you're awfully glad that we have the facilities that we do, and you guys have saved us a couple of times, and you just thank God that they're close by and that they can respond. So I'm in your camp.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to put on the record, this does improve response times for Sutton, Butte, Lazy. Like there's a little bit more of a regional thing in play here too. I should have mentioned that just so that we understand this isn't Palmer centric.
Further discussion? Is there any objection to the legislation? Hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 24-114, an ordinance accepting and appropriating school district funds totaling $450,000 to support the design of the new Birch Tree Charter School project with accompanying resolution 24-122, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget to support the design of the new Birch Tree Charter School project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, staff report. Aye.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Cheyenne Heindel, finance director. As Lonnie read, this is an accept and appropriate of $450,000 from the school district back to the borough to allow us to design and do site investigation, any studies that need to be done, schematic designs of Birch Tree Elementary, so we can move this project that was voted on by the taxpayers in the most recent ballot issues, so we can get this building put together rather quickly, because they're going to run out of a lease, basically.
Questions to staff? Okay, hearing none, then I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 24-114 and resolution 24-122. Okay, come on up, sir. I don't think we have a sign-up sheet, but
Michael Kaler, member of the Birch Tree Parents Guild, please.
anyone else would like to give the assembly input on this ordinance and this resolution? Okay, anybody online, sir? No? Don't see anybody else. Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-114 and resolution 24-122.
Okay. Discussion by the assembly. Any objection by the assembly? Okay, hearing no objection, then the legislation passes. The next item on our agenda is our second portion of audience participation, and if you did take and testify at the first one, you're not able to testify at this one. And I thought I saw Jackie here, but I don't know if she just stepped out or not. So we do have a sign-up sheet, but that person's not available right now. So do we have anybody in the audience that would like to address the assembly on any topic? It doesn't have to be on the agenda. Anything you would like to bring to the assembly's attention? Okay, Jackie?
Greetings, Assembly, Madam Mayor. My name is Jackie Goforth. I spent some time talking to you last time about the Library Citizens Advisory Committee and why I was adding some books to it. And the reason why is because honor and integrity matter to me. And I'm only as good as my word. Exactly. I'm from Wyoming. You're only as good as your word, okay? So when the public posts come out saying that I said I turned in challenges saying that I wanted books removed and destroyed, I did. They were pretend challenges that were my negotiation tactic. They were written on my own form, and they were not accepted, and they were considered void. Okay? And I agreed with that. They were considered void, okay. So I followed the new program, and I asked for putting them to the adult section, because that's the mid-range of a negotiation tactic, right? Well, now that they have been put through a FOIA request and treated as though they're correct forms and put out in the public now saying that I requested
books to get removed from the library and destroyed, I have no choice but to say, yes, I did that. I did request to have books removed from the library and destroyed. Some of these are extremely heinous. They're in the adult section. One of them is called Fun Home. I would suggest they start with that one. And I believe that this entire program bypasses the library stage because they're 20 months old. And you have to meet with the librarian, and that was not in the process before. In the process before, it never said you met with the librarian. You just submit a form. And then it was in the introduction part. So I bypassed the librarian meeting, and I've been adding them into the system, and I apologize to the borough for any time that this wasted. I apologize for any money spent, but some of these books probably shouldn't be in the library. It shows you that the adult section has been littered with pornography for the last 20 years also. So you're going to find that out. Okay, so I do apologize for that. The reason this is happening is because voided challenge forms that I made up were treated as legitimate and sent out, and I am now on social media saying that I did it, because I did. I agree with that. I did submit challenges saying books needed to be removed from the library and destroyed because they were pornographic. And I will stand on that right now because I did it. I did it, and it is out on social media. And you're only as good as your word where I'm from. Honor and integrity are words that matter. There are 3 people being recalled now from the city council at Palmer again. 3 more recalls. One of them just got approved for the mayor. 2 more just got put in. And the reason why is honor and integrity matter. Quit doing backdoor deals and lying. That's all we ask. Really, that's all the citizens of Palmer ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the assembly under audience participation? Okay, don't see anyone else. Still nobody online? Okay, I'll go ahead and close audience participation. And we are now at the consent agenda. Is there anything from the assembly that anyone would like to pull? We did not have anything earlier. Okay, it doesn't look like we have anything at this time either. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Resolution 24123, a resolution authorizing the manager to sell the Moraine Ridge Salvage Timber Harvest. AM 24118, Matanuska-Susitna Borough Assembly regular and joint meeting scheduled for 2025. AM 24133, approval of change order number 2 for contract number 232PA with Kinney Engineering for the Fern Street Upgrade and Pathway Project to extend the completion date to December 31st, 2026. AM 24134, approval of change order number 5 for contract 22078PB with the Boutte Company for the Lake Boulevard Upgrade Project to extend completion date to October 31st, 2025. AM 24135, approval of change order number 5 for contract 22078PA with Lounsbury and Associates to add $11,311 for the Hidden Hills Road Reconstruction Project and to extend the completion date to December 31st, 2025. AM 24136, awarded bid number 2578B to Andela Products in the contract amount of $185,022 to purchase a glass pulverizer for the Solid Waste Division Public Works Department. AM 24137, approval of bid number 25091C to General Fire Apparatus Rosenbauer in the contract amount of $1,243,546 to purchase fire rescue engine for the West Lakes Fire Service area.
Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt, to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Is there any objection from the assembly? Hearing no objection, the consent agenda has been approved. There are no unfinished business. There are no vetoes. Madam Clerk?
For introduction for December 17th, 2024, Resolution 24124, Ordinance 24096, Ordinance 24115, Ordinance 24117, and Ordinance 24118 with accompanying Resolution 24128.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearings on December 17, 2024.
Discussion by the assembly. Is there any objection? Yes, Assemblyperson McKee.
It's just a question. I thought I'd been at this long enough to know how this all works, but I was noticing, Ms. Nauer's, amendment, is that in here? Or is it to be included at some point later? So, 24096, it's new business? So it's introduced, so we'll see it at the next, okay, thanks. I was madly looking through here thinking it might be there. Thanks.
Okay. Alrighty. So hearing no objection, then the legislation has been introduced. Deputy Mayor, will you do the vacancy report, please?
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendation as follows. Joint Assembly School Board Committee on School Issues, Maxwell Summer, with terms beginning January 1st, 2025. Board of Adjustments and Appeals, Tina Crawford. Borough Area School Site Selection Committee, Christina Adamsack. Enhanced 911 Advisory Board, Jared Iason. Labor Relations Board, Daniel Bowen. Local Emergency Planning Committee, Michael Chamalski. Parks and Recreation and Trail Advisory Board, Ruth Woods. Plating Board, Christina Chaveda. Big Lake RSA number 21, Nate Sewing. Bogart RSA number 25, Jennifer Nofke. Greater Butte RSA number 26, Lucy Kablaskadel. And Trapper Creek RSA number 30, Becky Badillo.
Is there any discussion on the vacancy report? Is there any?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Could you please repeat, I heard the name, there was Tina Crawford. What position was that for? Can I please get that? Can you repeat that, please?
Board of Adjustments and Appeals for Tina Crawford.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on the vacancy report or questions? Is there any objection?
I have an objection.
Okay. So is there any further objection? Okay, hearing no other ones, then the vacancy report has been approved. We do not have any other new business, there are no referrals, or no reconsiderations. So we're now at parting remarks. Mr. Attorney, parting remarks. Assemblyperson McKee, parting remarks. Deputy Mayor, parting remarks.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I'd just like to thank the Lord for all blessings that he bestows on us. May we try to meet his expectations, to love one another, to be good, to repent. Please bless our valley, take care of our veterans, our first responders, help those in need. In Jesus' name, amen.
Assemblyperson Nowers, parting comments?
Yeah, I'm really happy to see the 8 million come through for that fire station that has been in the works for years. And if you want to see the station that it will replace, it looks like an old car repair shop with rickety staircase. You go up it and you can sleep in it, but it's like sleeping in your cabin in the woods. And so this will be a real asset to the borough. And it's exciting to see it come together, the pieces come together and get it done. Also very excited to see the 2 million towards the water infrastructure. I see this valley growing and figuring out where our water is going to come from. Wasilla's already struggling with that, how we're going to support that growth and also deal with our sewage. That's the only way this community can continue to grow. It has to happen. And so this isn't going to solve it, but at least we start to put the pieces together. This allows Wasilla and Palmer to work together on how these systems could interconnect. And that's a big project that's going to outlast me, but at least we're starting down that road, so we won't be trying to play catch up on a water system 10 years from now. So I'm excited to see that. And then can somebody give me a reminder? I know on Thursday we are having a ceremony to honor two of our Fish and Wildlife Commission folks, Larry Ingold and Howard Delo. And I'm just trying to remember what time it is and if it's here.
Right. It's a regular meeting there, and they have a report, and we also, have some signings in there for the emblems, and I believe it's at 5 p.m. is what I have. Okay. And I believe it has been advertised, so we are fine as far as everybody from the assembly able to come.
Okay, so 5 p.m. and they normally meet downstairs. Are they going to be up here or they will be?
I don't know, just a minute.
Okay.
She's looking.
One
The
of the
clerk
two
is
places.
looking.
Anyways, I'm looking forward to that, and I hope other folks will try to make it or recognize the work that those two folks have done in service to the borough for many, many, many years to try to improve our fish and wildlife out here in the valley.
Yeah, normally we do meet in this chambers in the back corner. I think we've been upstairs one time and downstairs one time, but the majority of meetings that we've had have been right here in this chamber. Yeah.
Thursday.
This Thursday.
Sorry, it's a little harder for me to look on the phone. Yes, it's at 5 o'clock here.
In Chambers.
It does say Chambers, yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brown, parting comments?
Just very quickly, Resolution 24-124 is rates and fees. We could have just put that on this consent agenda tonight. We introduce it for public hearing to get it on the record for 2 weeks. So if an assembly members have any questions about what we proposed that's in the legislation, let us know and we can kind of talk through that. So we're prepared for the next meeting. I don't think there's any remarkable changes in there that are going to garner a lot of attention, but it is an important thing because it speaks to some of the revenues that we collect for fee-based services. So I just wanted to call your attention to that since it was introduced, and we'll have a public hearing on it next meeting. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Assemblyperson Fauna, are you still with us, sir, and do you have parting comments?
I'm still here. No comments.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk.
I do not have anything, thank you.
Okay. Assemblyperson Sumner, parting comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. Assemblyperson Gamble, parting comments?
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to say again how much I appreciate the presentation tonight about the landfill and the improvements that we're going to be making in the future. A few years ago, I drove through Central Florida from Orlando down to West Palm Beach, and the landfills are right off the highway there, and the walls of them are like 100 to 150 feet tall. It was just amazing to see how big those landfills are, and I hope that we never get to that point where the landfills actually block your view of the land around you. Thank you.
Okay, and we do not have an executive session, so unless there's some objection, we will adjourn at 7:24. Whoop, here comes the police to get us here.
They're celebrating the fire truck.
Oh, come on.
Oh, the fire building or the,
That is Medic 1.
is it? Oh, they're just excited
I don't know
that,
about that. I don't think they're that excited. The police are here too.
oh, the police are here too? Well, maybe we better adjourn the meeting.
You will now be disconnected.